The massive space station called Concordia Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was the size of a small moon and home to the Galactic Council. Today, representatives from 12 different alien empires gathered in the main meeting hall. The air felt thick with worry and fear. Ambassador Kelthera walked into the room with heavy steps. Her reptilian skin was a deep green color, and her yellow eyes looked tired. She had been the Vorthon Empire's voice in the council for 20 years, but she had never seen anything like this before. "Fellow council members," she said, her voice echoing in the large chamber, "we are facing something that has never happened before. The humans have stopped talking to us." The room erupted in noise. Representatives from different species started talking at once. The Zephyrites, who looked like living crystals, made ringing sounds that meant they were upset. The Nebulans, who were made of gas and floated in special containers, changed colors rapidly. The Cronins, large warrior-like beings covered in thick armor, banged their fists on the table. "Silence," shouted Council Leader Mordain. He was one of the ancient architects, beings who had helped create the Galactic Council thousands of years ago. When he spoke, everyone listened. "Ambassador Kelthara, please explain what you mean." Kelthara activated a holographic display in the center of the room. Images of space appeared, showing star maps and ship movements. 3 weeks ago, all human communication stopped. Not just with us, but with everyone. They are not answering our calls. They are not responding to trade requests. They are not talking to anyone. The display showed dozens of human ships moving through space. The ships looked normal and were flying in perfect formations, but something was wrong. Usually, space was full of radio chatter between ships and space stations. Now the human ships moved in complete silence. "This is impossible," said Ambassador Yextal of the Merchant Guild. His species looked like large insects with multiple arms. Humans never stop talking. They love to make deals, to negotiate, to chat about everything. They talk more than any other species in the galaxy. "That is exactly why this is so frightening," Kelthera replied. "In 200 years of contact with humans, they have never done this. They have always been the first to call us when there is a problem. They have always wanted to talk and find solutions together." Dr. Isandra floated forward in her container. She was a Nebulan and the Council's expert on alien behavior. Her gaseous form turned a deep purple color, which meant she was very concerned. "I have studied human behavior for 50 years, she said, her voice coming through a speaker since she could not make sounds like solid beings. "Humans use communication like other species use breathing. They cannot survive without it. When humans stop talking, it means something terrible has happened." The holographic display changed to show trade routes across the galaxy. Red lines marked where human ships usually traveled, carrying goods and people between different worlds. The lines were still active, but now they showed something strange. Human cargo ships were still making their deliveries, but they were running on automatic systems. No human voices came from the ships even when other species tried to contact them. "The economic impact is already severe," reported Ambassador Vex of the Trade Commission. 40% of all galactic commerce depends on human trade routes. Human banks handle money transfers for most species. Human translators help different aliens understand each other. Without human communication, our entire economy is starting to break down. General Thakmor of the Cronin Empire stood up. He was 8 feet tall and covered in thick black armor. His red eyes glowed with anger. "Maybe the humans are planning to attack us. Maybe this silence is preparation for war." "That makes no sense," replied Ambassador Kelthera. "Our spy satellites show that human military ships are not preparing for battle. They are just watching and waiting. When our ships approach human space, human patrol vessels come to meet them. But the human ships do not point weapons at us. They do not send threatening messages. They just watch us with their sensors." The room fell quiet for a moment. The idea of humans just watching was somehow more frightening than the idea of humans preparing for war. Everyone knew that humans were excellent fighters when they needed to be, but they were even better at planning and thinking ahead. "What about their colonies?" asked Ambassador Zithara of the Mining Consortium. "Are the human settlements still active?" "Yes," Kelthera answered. "All human colonies are operating normally. People are working, ships are launching, and factories are producing goods. But when our representatives try to visit or communicate with any human settlement, they are completely ignored. It is as if we do not exist." The holographic display showed images from spy cameras near human worlds. The footage showed humans going about their daily lives. Children played in parks. Adults worked in offices and factories, and everything looked peaceful and normal. But when alien visitors tried to approach, the humans acted like they could not see or hear them. "This is what frightens me the most," Dr. Yasandra said, her form turning darker purple. "Humans have always been curious about other species. Human children especially love to meet aliens and ask questions. Now even human children ignore alien visitors completely. This suggests that the silence is not just a government decision. All humans, from the youngest child to the oldest adult, are participating in this silence." Ambassador Torvek of the Scientific Alliance spoke up. His species looked like large, blue-skinned humanoids with 4 arms. "We have also noticed that all human researchers have withdrawn from joint scientific projects. Humans who were working with our scientists to cure diseases, explore new planets, and develop new technologies have simply disappeared. They left their laboratories and returned to human space without explanation. The same thing happened with our cultural exchange programs," added Ambassador Yilseth of the Arts Council. "Human artists, musicians, and writers who were living on our worlds have all gone home. Human students in our universities have withdrawn from their classes. It is as if humanity has decided to cut all ties with the rest of the galaxy." General Thakmor slammed his armored fist on the table. "This is an insult. The humans think they are better than us. We should show them that they cannot ignore the great empires of the galaxy." "That would be a mistake," warned Dr. Yasandra. "Humans do not make decisions based on emotion like many species do. If they have chosen silence, they have a reason. A very serious reason." The council leader Mordain had been quiet during the discussion, but now he spoke. His ancient voice carried the weight of thousands of years of experience. "I have lived long enough to see many species rise and fall. I have seen empires that ruled the galaxy crumble into dust. But I have never seen anything like this human silence. It reminds me of the calm before a terrible storm." The holographic display changed one more time, showing the outer edge of the galaxy. Red dots marked the positions of human ships, and there were more dots than anyone expected. Hundreds of human vessels were moving toward the galactic rim, the empty space beyond known civilization. "Our long-range sensors have detected massive human fleet movements," Kelthera said quietly. "They are not moving toward any known human colony or any alien world. They are heading out into empty space beyond the edge of our galaxy, and they are still maintaining complete silence." The room became very quiet. Every representative stared at the display, trying to understand what they were seeing. The humans were not just refusing to talk. They were leaving. But leaving to go where? "The question we must answer," said Council Leader Mordain, "is what has caused humanity to behave this way? What have they discovered? What do they know that we do not? And why are they moving toward empty space?" As the council meeting continued late into the night, one thought haunted every representative in the room. For 200 years, humans had been their partners, their mediators, their friends. Now, for the first time since first contact, humanity had turned away from the galaxy completely. Something had changed, something big enough to make an entire species go silent, and nobody knew what it was. 3 weeks had passed since the emergency council meeting, and the situation was getting worse every day. The silence from humanity was like a disease spreading through the galaxy, causing panic and confusion wherever it touched. On the trading world of Nexus Prime, cargo ships floated empty at the docking stations. Merchant Captain Zexler stood on the loading platform, watching a human cargo vessel approach his station. The ship was massive, carrying containers full of rare metals that his people desperately needed for their factories. "Human vessel Prosperity," he called into his communication device. "This is Nexus Prime Control. Please respond with docking instructions." Silence. The human ship continued its approach with perfect precision, its automated systems guiding it to the correct docking bay. Mechanical arms extended from the ship and began unloading cargo containers exactly where they were supposed to go. But no human voice acknowledged the calls from the station. Captain Zexler had been trading with humans for 15 years. He knew the captain of the Prosperity, a friendly woman named Sarah who always asked about his family and shared stories about her adventures. Now the ship operated like a ghost vessel, completing its delivery without a single word. "It is like they have become machines," Zexler said to his assistant. "Perfect, efficient machines that happen to look like humans." Similar scenes were happening across the galaxy. Human ships continued to operate their trade routes with mechanical precision, but they refused to acknowledge any communication from other species. Emergency calls went unanswered. Friendly greetings were ignored. Even distress signals from ships in danger received no response from nearby human vessels. The economic effects were devastating. The Galactic Stock Exchange on Centrum Station showed red numbers everywhere. Companies that depended on human services were losing money rapidly. Banks that used human communication networks could not process transactions properly. Even simple things like restaurant menus could not be translated without human linguistic experts. Ambassador Yextal of the Merchant Guild paced nervously in his office, his insect-like legs clicking on the metal floor. Reports from across the galaxy told the same story. Trade was collapsing, communication between different species was breaking down, and panic was spreading. "Sir," his assistant buzzed through the intercom, "General Thakmore is here to see you." The Cronin general entered the office like a walking tank. His black armor gleamed under the lights and his red eyes burned with anger and frustration. 3 weeks of this silence, he roared. 3 weeks of being ignored like we are insects. The Cronin Empire will not tolerate this insult any longer. "What do you plan to do?" Yextal asked, though he was afraid of the answer. "We are mobilizing our war fleet," Thakmore declared. 50 battleships are heading toward human space. We will demand answers, and if the humans refuse to give them, we will take them by force. Yextal's compound eyes widened with fear. "General, that could start a war that destroys the entire galaxy." "Better a war than this humiliation," Thakmore replied. "The Cronin Empire has never bowed to anyone, and we will not bow to silent humans." 2 days later, the Cronin war fleet reached the edge of human space. Admiral Gorthik commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Iron Fist. He had fought in dozens of battles and conquered many worlds, but he had never experienced anything like what happened next. As soon as the Cronin ships crossed into human territory, they were met by human patrol vessels. But these were not the usual diplomatic ships that normally greeted visitors. These were sleek black warships that appeared as if from nowhere. "Human vessels," Admiral Gorthik broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Gorthik of the Cronin Empire. You will respond to our communication immediately, or we will consider your silence an act of war." The human ships said nothing. They took positions around the Cronin fleet with movements so precise and coordinated that it seemed like they were controlled by a single mind. Their weapons remained powered down, but their sensor arrays focused intently on every Cronin vessel. "They are scanning us," reported the tactical officer. "Deep scans of our weapons, our engines, our crew quarters. They are learning everything about our ships." Admiral Gorthik felt something he had rarely experienced in his long military career: fear. The human ships were not threatening them or preparing to attack. They were studying them like scientists examining interesting specimens. "Fire." A warning shot across their bow, the Admiral ordered. A beam of energy shot from the Iron Fist and passed harmlessly in front of the nearest human ship. The human vessel did not react at all. It continued scanning the Cronin ships as if nothing had happened. Hours passed. The human ships maintained their positions, watching and scanning. The Cronin fleet stayed in formation, but Admiral Gorthik could feel his crews becoming nervous. Fighting an enemy that shot back was one thing. Being ignored by an enemy that just watched you was something entirely different. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we are receiving no responses to any of our transmissions, but our sensors indicate that the human ships are definitely receiving our signals. They are just choosing not to respond." Meanwhile, on other parts of the galaxy, different species were trying their own approaches to break through the human silence. The Zephyrite, who were made of living crystal, believed that humans might respond to beautiful gifts. They sent cargo ships full of rare crystal formations to human worlds, hoping that the beauty of their offerings would make humans want to communicate again. The human customs officials processed the shipments with perfect efficiency, but said nothing to the Zephyrite traders. The Nebulans tried a different approach. Their species had limited telepathic abilities, and they attempted to reach human minds directly. Dr. Ysandra led a team of the most powerful Nebulan telepaths in an effort to make mental contact with humans. "It is like trying to speak to a wall," she reported to the council. "Human minds are completely closed to us. They have erected mental barriers that we have never encountered before. It is as if they have learned to shield their thoughts from all telepathic contact." This discovery was particularly troubling. Humans had never shown telepathic abilities before, and they had never demonstrated knowledge of mental shielding techniques. The fact that they could now block Nebulan telepathy suggested that they had been preparing for this silence for a long time. Even the ancient architects became involved. These mysterious beings rarely interfered in galactic affairs, preferring to observe from their pocket dimensions outside normal space. But the human silence was so unusual that 3 architects emerged to investigate personally. The architects had technology far beyond anything the other species possessed. They could travel instantly between any 2 points in the galaxy and see through time itself. But when they tried to use their advanced abilities to understand what humans were thinking, they encountered the same problem as everyone else. "Human thoughts are hidden from us," reported Architect Velthera to the Council. "In all our long existence, we have never encountered a species that could hide from our perception. Yet humans have somehow learned to do exactly that." As the weeks passed, the effects of human silence spread throughout galactic society. Universities that had depended on human researchers found their projects stalled. Hospitals that used human medical techniques struggled to treat patients. Even entertainment industries suffered as human music, literature, and art disappeared from alien markets. On the Zephyrite homeworld, young crystals who had grown up listening to human music began to dim with sadness. Human songs had become an important part of Zephyrite culture, and without new music, their society felt incomplete. On Nebulan stations, the gas beings who had learned to appreciate human poetry found themselves unable to express certain emotions. Human language had given them new ways to think about existence and consciousness. Even the warrior Cronins were affected. Human military advisors had helped them develop better tactics and strategies. Without human input, Cronin generals found themselves struggling with complex battle planning. The galaxy was discovering a terrible truth. In 200 years of cooperation, they had become dependent on humans in ways they had never realized. Humans had not just been partners in trade and diplomacy. They had become the connective tissue that held galactic civilization together. But the most disturbing discovery came from intelligence reports gathered by spy satellites. Human colonies were not just operating normally, they were expanding. New settlements were being built at a rapid pace, new factories were coming online, and new ships were being constructed. Most shocking of all, long-range sensors detected human activity in star systems that were supposed to be empty. Humans were building things in places where no other species had ever gone. Far beyond the known boundaries of galactic civilization, they are not just refusing to talk to us, Ambassador Calthera reported to an emergency council session. They are building something big, and they are doing it in complete secrecy. The question that haunted every species in the galaxy became more urgent with each passing day. What were the humans preparing for? And why did they no longer need the rest of the galaxy to do it? As Admiral Gorthek finally ordered his fleet to withdraw from human space, still having received no response to their presence, he could not shake the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Marcus Shale then had been traveling in deep space for 6 months when he returned to find the galaxy in chaos. He was unusual among traders because he was half human and half Vorthan, born from one of the few successful mixed-species marriages in galactic history. His human mother, Elena Chen, had married his Vorthan father during the early days of human expansion into the galaxy. Marcus had grown up speaking both human languages and Vorthan, making him valuable as a translator and cultural bridge between species. When Marcus docked his small trading ship at Concordia Prime, he was shocked to learn about humanity's silence. He immediately tried to contact his mother's family on Earth, but like all other humans, they refused to answer his calls. "This makes no sense," he told Ambassador Calthera when she interviewed him. "My human relatives have never ignored me before. We've always been close." "Did they leave any message for you?" Calthera asked. "Anything at all?" Marcus thought for a moment, then checked his personal communication device. "Actually, yes. Before I left on my trading mission, my grandmother left me a strange message. I did not think much of it at the time." He played the message on his device. An elderly human woman's voice filled the room. "Marcus, dear, if you ever come home to find that we are not talking to the galaxy anymore, check the archives. Look for Project Harmony. Remember that we love you, but some truths are more important than family conversations." Ambassador Kelthara felt her reptilian blood turn cold. Project Harmony? What is Project Harmony? I have no idea, Marcus replied. I have never heard of it before. Within hours, teams of researchers from every major empire were digging through the vast data archives of the Galactic Council. The archives contained thousands of years of records, documenting every treaty, every trade agreement, and every diplomatic meeting since the Council's formation. The search took 3 days. The archives were massive, and Project Harmony was buried deep in classified sections that required special permission to access. When they finally found it, the discovery team wished they had never looked. Dr. Isandra was the first to read the complete files. Her gaseous form turned black with horror as she absorbed the information. She called an emergency meeting of the Council's senior members, her voice shaking as she spoke. "We need to gather immediately," she said. "What we have found will change everything." The senior council members assembled in a secure chamber deep inside Concordia Prime. Only the most trusted representatives from each empire were present. Dr. Isandra activated a holographic display that showed the Project Harmony files. 200 years ago, when humans first joined the galactic community, the major empires were afraid, she began. Humans had advanced from primitive spaceflight to interstellar travel in less than 50 years. Their technology was developing faster than any species in galactic history. The holographic display showed charts and graphs documenting human technological progress. The advancement was indeed remarkable. In areas where other species had taken centuries to develop new technologies, humans had made the same progress in decades. More concerning to the established empires was human diplomatic skill, Dr. Isandra continued. Humans had a natural ability to understand different cultures and mediate disputes between species. Within their first 50 years in the galaxy, humans had resolved 3 major wars and prevented 2 others. Ambassador Kelthara stared at the data with growing unease. What did the empires decide to do about this? They formed a secret alliance, Dr. Isandra replied, her voice barely above a whisper. 12 major empires, including the Vorthons. The Cronins, the Zephyrite, and others agreed to a plan called Project Harmony. The goal was to limit human expansion and influence while making it appear that humans were full partners in galactic civilization. The display showed a secret treaty signed by all the major powers. The document outlined a systematic plan to keep humanity contained while benefiting from their technological and diplomatic abilities. The plan had several parts, Dr. Isandra explained. First, humans would be given trade routes that seemed profitable, but were actually designed to make them dependent on alien partners. Second, certain advanced technologies would be kept from humans under various pretexts. Third, human colonies would be restricted to specific regions of space. Council leader Mordain had been silent throughout the presentation, but now he spoke with a voice heavy with shame. I remember this treaty. I was young then, barely 1,000 years old. The older architects convinced me that it was necessary to maintain galactic stability. There is more, Dr. Isandra said, changing the display to show military records. When humans proved too adaptable and continued to grow despite the restrictions, the empires decided on more direct action. The new files showed operation reports and casualty lists. As the council members read through them, horror grew on every face. The New Horizon, whispered Ambassador Kelthara. The human colony ship that disappeared 50 years ago with 50,000 people aboard. The official report said it was lost to a navigation error. It was sabotaged, Dr. Isandra confirmed. Cronin agents planted a bomb in the ship's navigation system. The explosion was timed to occur in deep space, where no one would ever find the wreckage. General Takmor's red eyes blazed with a mixture of anger and shame. Those were my people's actions. I was not in command then, but the orders came from Cronin High Command. The files revealed more atrocities. The plague that struck the Kepler 442b human settlement had been engineered by Zephyrite biochemists. A pirate attack on human mining operations in the Outer Rim had actually been carried out by Nebulan military forces using captured ships. In total, Dr. Isandra said, Project Harmony was responsible for the deaths of over 200,000 humans across multiple incidents. Each attack was designed to look like an accident or natural disaster. The room fell silent as the representatives processed this information. They had discovered that their own governments had committed genocide against humanity while pretending to be allies and friends. But how did humans find out about this? Asked Ambassador Torvek. These files were classified at the highest levels. Even most council members did not know about Project Harmony. Marcus Shalthen, who had been quietly listening to the revelations, spoke up. Maybe they always knew. My grandmother's message suggested that they have been preparing for this moment for a long time. Dr. Isandra brought up another set of files, these ones more recent. According to these records, strange incidents have been reported for the past 50 years. Alien computers being hacked with no trace of the intrusion, secret meetings being recorded by unknown surveillance devices, classified files being copied without anyone noticing. The pattern became clear. For decades, someone had been systematically gathering intelligence on Project Harmony and other secret operations against humanity. The evidence suggested a massive, long-term spying operation that had gone completely undetected. The humans have been watching us while we watch them, Council Leader Mordain said quietly. They have been learning our secrets while we thought we were controlling theirs. Ambassador Kelthara felt sick to her stomach. All these years when human diplomats sat in our council meetings and smiled at us, when human traders shared meals with our merchants, when human children played with our young ones, they knew. They knew we had murdered their people. But why did they wait so long to respond? Asked General Thakmore. If they have known about Project Harmony for years, why did they continue to work with us? The answer came from an unexpected source. Marcus activated his communication device and played another message that his grandmother had left him, one that he had not noticed before. The reason we waited, dear Marcus, is that we needed time. Time to grow beyond their ability to hurt us again. Time to build something better than what they offered us. Time to become strong enough that we no longer need them at all. The implications hit the council members like a physical blow. Humanity had not been preparing for revenge. They had been preparing for independence, complete independence. The fleet movements toward the Galactic Rim, whispered Ambassador Kelthara. The new colonies in unexplored space. The technological advances that our spies could not understand. They have been building their own civilization separate from ours. Dr. Isandra brought up the most recent intelligence reports. Our long-range sensors have detected massive construction projects beyond the edge of known space. Humans have built space stations larger than any in our galaxy. They have colonized star systems that we thought were uninhabitable. They have developed technologies that our scientists cannot even identify. The terrible truth became clear. While the galactic empires had been trying to keep humanity small and dependent, humans had been quietly growing into something far beyond what any of them had imagined possible. They do not need us anymore, Council Leader Mordain said, his ancient voice filled with sorrow. We tried to make them dependent on us, but instead, we made ourselves dependent on them. And now they are leaving us behind. As the meeting ended, each representative returned to their empire with the devastating knowledge of what their governments had done. News of Project Harmony spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Despite attempts by various governments to keep the information classified, details leaked through diplomatic channels, intelligence networks, and even civilian communication systems. Within days, every species in known space had learned the terrible truth about what their leaders had done to humanity. The reactions varied wildly across different worlds and cultures. On some planets, citizens demanded that their leaders resign in shame. On others, military commanders argued for immediate preemptive strikes against human space before humanity could seek revenge. Fear and guilt mixed with panic and confusion as the galaxy tried to understand what this revelation meant for their future. On the Zephyrite homeworld, massive crystal formations that had glowed with beautiful light for centuries began to dim. The Zephyrites were a peaceful people who prided themselves on their artistic achievements and philosophical wisdom. Learning that their government had helped engineer plagues to kill human civilians caused a cultural crisis that shook their entire civilization. We have lost our harmony, sang the Zephyrite Council of Elders, their crystal voices creating haunting melodies of sorrow. How can we create beauty when our hands are stained with innocent blood? The Nebulan colonies experienced their own form of chaos. As gas-based beings who valued collective consciousness and shared thoughts, the Nebulans found it almost impossible to process the idea that their government had secretly committed murder while pretending to be friends with the victims. Dr. Isandra, who had revealed the truth about Project Harmony, found herself both praised as a hero and condemned as a traitor. Some Nebulans accused her of destroying galactic stability by revealing secrets that should have stayed hidden. Others demanded that she lead efforts to make amends with humanity. "I fear we may have discovered this truth too late," she broadcast to her people. "Humans have been preparing for this moment for decades. While we were congratulating ourselves on our clever plans to control them, they were becoming something beyond our ability to understand or influence." The Cronan Empire faced the most violent internal reactions. Cronan culture valued honor and direct confrontation above all else. Learning that their leaders had killed humans through deception and sabotage, rather than open warfare, created a crisis that threatened to tear their military hierarchy apart. General Thakmor stood before the Cronan High Command, his red eyes burning with shame and anger. "We have acted without honor," he declared, his voice echoing through the Great War Hall. "We killed humans like cowards, striking from shadows instead of facing them in open battle. We have brought dishonor upon all Cronan warriors." The High Command was divided between those who wanted to immediately declare war on humanity to die with honor in battle, and those who believed the Cronans should offer themselves as slaves to human masters as payment for their crimes. "Neither path will restore our honor," Thakmor continued. "Humans are too intelligent to be defeated by force and too proud to accept us as slaves. We must find a third way, or our empire will destroy itself with shame." Meanwhile, emergency sessions of the Galactic Council continued around the clock, as representatives struggled to develop a response to the crisis. Some empires favored immediate diplomatic overtures, offering massive reparations and formal apologies to humanity. Others argued for a military alliance to prepare for inevitable human retaliation. Ambassador Kelthera found herself caught between these competing factions. As a Vorthun, she belonged to one of the founding species of Project Harmony, making her people partly responsible for the atrocities. But as a diplomat who had worked closely with humans for decades, she understood better than most how serious the situation had become. "We are thinking about this wrong," she told the assembled council. "We are planning our response as if humans are just another alien species that we can negotiate with or fight against. But humans have spent 200 years studying us, learning from us and preparing for this moment. They know exactly how we think and how we will react." Council leader Mordain nodded gravely. "Ambassador Kelthera speaks wisdom. Humans have been patient and methodical in their planning. They would not have revealed their knowledge of Project Harmony unless they were completely prepared for our response." As if summoned by their words, every communication screen in the council chamber suddenly activated without warning. The same thing was happening simultaneously across the galaxy, on every space station, every planet, every ship in known space. Human technology had somehow accessed every communication system in galactic civilization at the same time. A human woman appeared on all the screens. She looked to be in her 50s with gray-streaked hair and calm, intelligent eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform with no decorations or rank insignia. Behind her, the image showed what appeared to be a vast space station with architecture unlike anything the galactic species had ever seen. "Citizens of the galaxy," she said, her voice carrying clearly through translation systems that instantly converted her words into every known language. "My name is Director Sarah Chen of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. I am speaking to you today because it is time for truth." The entire galaxy fell silent. On billions of worlds, trillions of beings stopped what they were doing to listen to the first words humanity had spoken to them in months. "We know about Project Harmony," Director Chen continued, her voice remaining perfectly calm and steady. "We have always known. We discovered the first evidence of the conspiracy against our species within 10 years of joining your galactic community. For the past 190 years, we have been documenting every secret meeting, every sabotaged colony ship, every engineered plague, every act of murder committed against our people in the name of galactic stability." On Concordia Prime, Ambassador Kelthera felt her legs give out beneath her. The implications of what Director Chen was saying were staggering. Humans had known about the conspiracy for nearly 2 centuries and had said nothing. We recorded your secret communications, Director Chen continued. We infiltrated your computer networks. We placed surveillance devices in your most secure facilities. We have evidence of every crime, every lie, every betrayal. We have the names of everyone involved in documentation of their specific roles in the deaths of our people. The camera pulled back to show more of the space station behind Director Chen. The architecture was clearly human, but it incorporated technologies and design principles that seemed decades ahead of anything the galactic empires possessed. You may wonder why we waited so long to reveal this knowledge. The answer is simple. We needed time. Time to grow beyond your ability to hurt us. Time to develop technologies that did not depend on your cooperation. Time to build a civilization that could thrive without you. General Thakmor watched the broadcast from his flagship, surrounded by his senior officers. Several of them had drawn their weapons, apparently considering whether to attack the nearest human ships immediately, but Thakmor held up a hand to stop them. Wait, he ordered. Let her finish. A warrior must understand his enemy before choosing his battlefield. Director Chen's expression never changed from calm professionalism, but her next words sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. However, we want you to understand something very important. We are not going to seek revenge. We are not going to destroy your civilizations or conquer your worlds. We are not going to put you on trial for your crimes or demand that you surrender to our authority. A moment of stunned silence followed this declaration. Across the galaxy, military commanders and political leaders struggled to understand what they had just heard. Instead, Director Chen continued, we are going to do something that we believe will be far more effective. We are going to stop pretending that we need you. The camera zoomed out further, revealing the true scale of the human space station. It was enormous, easily the size of a small moon, with docking facilities that could accommodate thousands of ships. But more importantly, the design was completely alien to galactic architecture, suggesting technologies and capabilities that no other species possessed. For 200 years, you have believed that you were containing us, controlling us, limiting our growth to maintain your own power. You were wrong. While you were watching us, we were outgrowing you. While you were planning to keep us small, we were building something bigger than your entire galactic civilization. The screen displayed a star map showing the known galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies within galactic space, but they were vastly outnumbered by blue dots that extended far beyond the galactic rim into previously unexplored regions of space. What you see here are the locations of human settlements and stations, Director Chen explained. The red dots represent our colonies within your galactic boundaries. The blue dots represent our expansion beyond your known space. As you can see, our civilization now extends far beyond the limits of your galaxy. The council members on Concordia Prime stared at the display in shock. There were thousands of blue dots scattered across regions of space that they had believed to be empty. Humanity had been building a vast interstellar civilization right under their noses. We have been preparing for this day for nearly 2 centuries, Director Chen continued. Every human colony, every human ship, every human citizen has known about Project 6 months had passed since Director Sarah Chen's galactic broadcast, and the universe had become a very different place. The immediate panic that followed humanity's revelation had given way to a cold, uncomfortable reality. The galaxy was learning to exist without the species that had unknowingly held it together for 2 centuries. On Concordia Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session almost every day. The great chamber that had once echoed with confident debates about trade agreements and territorial disputes now felt hollow and uncertain. Representatives spoke in hushed tones about economic collapse, communication breakdowns, and the growing instability that plagued their civilizations. Ambassador Kelthera looked older than her years as she reviewed the latest reports from across Forthan space. Her people had been among the founding members of Project Harmony, and the shame of that involvement weighed heavily on their entire culture. But shame was not their only problem. The Outer Rim colonies are requesting emergency food supplies, she reported to her staff. Without human agricultural technology and transport systems, we cannot efficiently move resources to our frontier settlements. Her aide, a young Vorthon named Sektar, pulled up holographic displays showing supply routes throughout their empire. Red indicators marked transportation bottlenecks and distribution failures. Ambassador, we have lost 30% of our shipping efficiency since the humans withdrew their logistics support. Our colonies are beginning to experience shortages of basic necessities. Similar problems plagued every major empire. The Zephyrite discovered that their crystalline technology required rare minerals that had been processed almost exclusively by human refining operations. Without access to these materials, their advanced computer systems began to fail. The Nebulans faced an even more serious crisis. Their gas-based physiology required precise atmospheric controls that had been maintained by human environmental engineers. Several Nebulan space stations had already experienced life support failures, forcing evacuations to overcrowded facilities. Most devastating of all was the collapse of interspecies communication. For generations, humans had served as translators and cultural mediators between alien civilizations. Without human linguistic experts, misunderstandings between different species escalated into conflicts that might have been easily resolved past the Cronin Empire and the Zephyrite. Confederacy found themselves on the brink of war over a mining dispute that would have taken human diplomats mere hours to resolve. Instead, the situation deteriorated for weeks as neither side could properly understand the other's negotiating position. General Thakmore stood in his command center, watching reports of small-scale conflicts erupting across the galaxy. His red eyes reflected the lights of tactical displays showing military buildups and territorial disputes. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the Arcturus sector incident has escalated. Zephyrite merchant ships are refusing to enter Cronin space and our traders are being denied access to their crystal markets." Thakmore growled in frustration. This is exactly the kind of situation that human mediators would have prevented. They understood both our honor code and Zephyrite cultural sensitivities. Without them, every minor disagreement becomes a potential war. The economic impacts were even more severe than the diplomatic ones. The Galactic Stock Exchange had lost 40% of its value as trade routes collapsed and supply chains failed. Companies that had built their business models around human services went bankrupt. Entire industries that depended on human innovation simply ceased to function. Dr. Isandra floated in her chamber aboard a Nebulan research station, her gaseous form shifting between colors as she processed the latest data. Her people had asked her to study the long-term implications of humanity's withdrawal, and her findings were deeply troubling. "The situation is worse than we initially calculated," she reported to the Nebulan High Council. "Humans were not just participants in our galactic economy, they were the foundation that held it together. Their withdrawal has created a cascade failure that is spreading throughout our civilization." She displayed charts showing the interconnected nature of galactic commerce. Human services had been woven into every aspect of interspecies cooperation. Banking systems relied on human financial networks. Transportation depended on human navigation technology. Even entertainment and cultural exchange had been facilitated primarily by human translators and cultural experts. Without humans, we are discovering that we cannot effectively cooperate with each other, Dr. Ysandra continued. We have become like separate islands in space, each struggling with our own problems while being unable to help one another. The situation was made worse by humanity's continued presence within galactic space. Human colonies and stations within the established galactic boundaries continued to operate, but they functioned as completely isolated entities. Human ships still traveled their traditional trade routes, but they operated under automation with no human crew members visible. Captain Zexler stood on the docking platform at Nexus Prime, watching a human cargo vessel complete its delivery routine. The ship Prosperity arrived exactly on schedule, unloaded its cargo with mechanical precision and prepared to depart. But when he tried to approach the ship's docking hatch, he found his way blocked by an invisible barrier. "Some kind of force field," his station engineer explained. "The human ships have installed shielding technology that prevents any non-human from boarding their vessels or even getting close to them." The cargo that the humans delivered was different now, too. Instead of the wide variety of goods that human traders had once carried, the ships delivered only basic raw materials and simple manufactured products. The advanced technologies, cultural goods, and innovative solutions that humans had once shared with the galaxy were no longer available. "It is like they have reduced us to the status of primitive trading partners," Captain Zexler observed sadly. "They treat us the way we might treat a newly discovered species that has just developed spaceflight." Some empires attempted to reach out to humanity with offers of reparations and formal apologies. The Zephyrite Confederacy offered to build memorial crystals for every human who had died in the Project Harmony incidents. The Nebulan Collective proposed joint research projects to develop new medical technologies as a form of compensation. These overtures were met with polite but firm rejections. Human representatives would accept the offers and issue brief thank you messages, but they made it clear that such gestures would not restore the previous relationship between humans and, other galactic species. Ambassador Torvek of the Scientific Alliance received one such response when he proposed a collaborative effort to explore distant galaxies. The human reply was courteous but devastating in its implications. We appreciate the Scientific Alliance's offer to join exploration missions beyond our galaxy. However, we must respectfully decline. Humanity has already begun such exploration using our own resources and technology. We have established contact with several extragalactic civilizations and are developing relationships with species whose existence was previously unknown to galactic civilization. We believe it would be more productive for your alliance to focus on exploring the remaining uncharted regions within your own galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity had not just grown beyond their dependence on galactic civilization. They had grown beyond the galaxy itself. Marcus Shale then found himself in a unique position as one of the few beings who maintained any contact with both humans and other galactic species. His mixed heritage allowed him to visit human space, though even he was subject to strict limitations. When he docked at the human station orbiting Earth, he was met by his grandmother, Elena Chen. She looked exactly as he remembered her, but there was something different in her demeanor, a confidence and sense of purpose that seemed to radiate from her. "Hello, Marcus," she said warmly. "We have been hoping you would visit." "Grandmother, I need to understand what is happening," he said. "The galaxy is falling apart without humanity's involvement. People are suffering. Wars are starting. Can't something be done to repair the relationship?" Elena led him to a viewing window that looked out into space. Marcus gasped at what he saw. Massive ships were departing from Earth orbit, vessels of a design he had never seen before, sleek and beautiful in a way that suggested technologies far beyond anything he knew existed. "Where are they going?" he asked. "To the Andromeda Galaxy," Elena replied simply. "We have established peaceful contact with 3 different civilizations there. They have invited us to help them explore regions of space that neither our species nor theirs have visited before." Marcus stared at the departing ships in amazement. "You are leaving this galaxy entirely?" "Not entirely," his grandmother explained. "Many humans will remain here to maintain our existing colonies and continue our research. But our future lies beyond the boundaries of this galactic civilization. We have learned that the universe is far larger and more wonderful than any of us imagined." She turned to face him directly. "Marcus, you have a choice to make. You can continue to serve as a bridge between humanity and the other galactic species,